You want me to show you? I can show you.
Oh, you got it. I didn't need it, but yeah, it's fine.
I got the bag.
You got good candy? You got like the good chocolate variety pack? Boom.
Here we go. Okay. We're all set up.
Ready to go when you are.
Across all the platform. I know the people that watch us on Amazon Prime, they have trouble figuring it out. But
Amazon Prime.
it's our first Brad and Britt cast for this week. I'm Brad. He's Britt over there, and I've got my my Halloween costume I'm going to wear now. Can I show it to you? Here it is. Ready?
Ready. Oh, sure.
I'm going as late Coach Woody Hayes
You know
of the
what?
Ohio State University, just scaring the shit out of little kids,
If you
afraid that I'll get mad at them and break something.
If you had a bust of a guy with a Clemson helmet and you like would punch it, I would say that would be like the perfect costume.
There you go.
I believe that would be the very perfect costume.
You're wondering. This is my candy thing.
Okay,
I'm holding it up now.
That's a
It is the Three Musketeers Milky Way Twix Snickers double perfecta.
That's the M&M. That's the M&M Mars variety pack right there. Is what that is. Yeah. The Mars variety pack. Oh, yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
220. I got
that one at the Aldi.
I got. It's just Snickers and Mounds. Snickers and Mounds is all I got. I got copious amounts of it.
Wait, Mounds?
Yeah. I love coconut. Boy. I hope children love coconut. I don't give a shit if they do love coconut. They love coconut.
Don't. Mounds is a second tier.
How dare you?
It just is.
How dare you?
You know, they always have these favorite candy and on the hated candy list. And I like a couple of the ones that are on the hated list. And they always put Necco wafers on the hated list. I love them.
How do you like Necco wafers?
I like them.
Jesus, I like they're like the worst thing ever.
Well,
nobody likes them.
Well, you know what, Britt, you wouldn't even begin to understand, and I can't explain it to you.
I heard Kyrie Irving say that Necco wafers were a Jewish plot. He said that just the other day.
He's right. The people, the family that owned that factory up there in the New England, they're a bunch of Jews.
He's going to be canceled by Necco wafers.
Yeah. All right. But there's a lot of shit swirling around. By the way, podcast recommendation. I finally came on Sunday. Yeah, I have the first tree within sight in my neighborhood. I can see 50 trees from, just I can see 20 of them from here. And mine is the first tree that all the leaves fell off already, just all of them now.
Yeah.
And so I raked them up, and it takes a while, and I do it the old fashioned way. I like doing it. And I'm listening to podcasts while I'm doing it.
Sure you do.
So I did listen to the first two there are four so far. I think there'll be a fifth one today, installments of the extremely hyped, annoyingly so, Rachel Maddow podcast. But in spite of that, in spite of the hype, they are, as billed, they are excellent. It is so well done. It's just brilliant stuff. And the point is that it's about things that you didn't know, I didn't know, nobody knew. It's been completely forgotten, completely buried. You think you know a little bit about it, but you don't, about the true Nazi infiltration of this country in the 1930s and into the 40s, and members of the United States Senate who were flat out having their speeches written by, that's right, Nazis. And that's just the beginning of it. And the plot to overthrow the United States government, and the plot to kill FDR, and the plot to kill others. It's all there. It's all real. It's very good. Highly recommended. End of story. Won't go
all the
any
stuff
further,
that
but
she's
it's all
done previously in that space has always been really good. Bagman about Spiro Agnew were very, very good.
Right.
So I'm
right.
sure this will be good as well.
This actually is it's equal to, better than that, because
Wow.
it really describes a situation that is 100% analogous to what we have going on right now. A portion of the country that doesn't like the way this country is and will do anything to overthrow whatever they consider to be the, quote, establishment government that is in there. And we were pretty close then. We're real close right now. We're a week away from an election that could be one big fat mess. We shall see. Now, I was pleasantly surprised yesterday, I'm sure you were too, to see that the boys and girls from Brazil threw out their Donald Trump loving, imitating mentor of and mentor to Bolsonaro of Brazil. Jair Bolsonaro, the guy who's been just copying everything. And they kicked him out. He lost the election by about what, 2 points, whatever it is.
Wasn't he just one and done, basically, that guy?
Well, he is now.
Yeah.
He is now. But here's the that was just yesterday, Sunday, that the results came in, and he's being uncharacteristically silent now in the wake of the election. He hasn't spoken yet. So the longer he stays silent, the more paranoid the world may be getting, and rightfully so, because he promised that if he lost, he was not going to accept the results of the election. I don't know where he got that idea to even say that before the election. Have no idea where he got that thought. But he was saying those things. He was attacking the democratic institutions of Brazil, just like Trump, over and over, and corruption, talking about going after him now. It's very, very familiar. But the point is that he was unable to convince in Buffalo the population of Brazil to reelect him. And apparently he brought together very disparate groups of people from all sides of the political spectrum who banded together to vote against him. Jeez. Okay. Sound familiar? Not quite so much here. I wouldn't say that there was a broad-based coalition that put in Joe Biden. It just got big. That was, what we had. But that was just. I just think that's a great thing. On the other hand, of course, the guy that replaces him, who knows how that's going to work out? I mean, he's a true socialist. This guy, but he's been in there before. But he had corruption problems of his own 20 years ago. So that's Brazil. Good luck to them. We wish them well. We do. Can we do a little Jerry Lee Lewis here for a minute?
The killer.
Bill Wyman, who, by the way, quit the Rolling Stones. It's been like 30 years. Okay. He was with the Stones, I think, for their first 30 years. And then I think in 92 or 93, he said, I'm kind of done. Still friends with them. But he's old enough to have known Jerry Lee Lewis pretty well, and he's written a little write-up about Jerry Lee Lewis here for Vulture magazine, which is kind of like New York magazine. And he's got some more details about the marriage to the 13-year-old second cousin,
Okay.
Whose name was Myra Gale. At the point that Jerry Lee Lewis married her, I think he was 21, she was 13. He'd already been married twice, and he was not divorced from either wife.
Okay.
Got it?
Okay.
So
you didn't think you could make a marriage to a 13-year-old even worse, but you just did.
That's the point, and that's why he wrote the piece, because it's got more. It's even worse than you can imagine. All right. So when it was all said and done, he was married 7 times. Wife number 5 died within 77 days of their wedding. And this is according to Wyman, quote, "The blood and broken glass in the house and the fact that the body had been moved after she died suggests that the full story has not been told." You know what we need? We need Elon Musk to investigate that and put out the real information on Twitter, don't we?
I thought the killer was the nickname given because he was such a great performer. Apparently, it was a little on the nose.
It was more accurate than we knew. Bill Wyman calls Jerry Lee Lewis a thief, a bigamist, an adulterer, a sexual predator, a family abandoner, and a liar. And he was just positive that the rules of society did not hold to him, did not apply to him. And he just said, sorry, I'm just him. But, you know, you combine that with musical genius and you get Kanye West. I'm sorry.
Well, it's always interesting when some of these guys die, how appropriate it is to talk about that element of what happened. You know, that element of the way too young girls and all of that stuff. There was a great book about the band Led Zeppelin that came out last year, and it's really one of the best ones. And I listened to it and I heard interviews with the author, and he started getting into that stuff because Jimmy Page really liked young women, like about that age that Jerry Lee Lewis's wife there was. And he started doing it. And the guy's wife, the guy who was writing the book, his wife goes, "You cannot describe these people that Jimmy Page was having sex with as women. I don't care what you do in the book. They're not women. These are girls. These are girls that he was having sex with, not once, not twice, and there weren't just 1 or 2 of them. It was multiple times." And the guy goes, "Well, I covered that in the book, but there was a point in time where I had to kind of cut it off, or that's all that the book would be about, right? That's all that would be there."
Yeah, you're right. Different books. All right, one more little nugget from Bill Wyman. This is a story, I guess, that was floating around, that Jerry Lee Lewis supposedly lit a piano on fire so that Chuck Berry, who was going to come on after him and close whatever show they were involved in, couldn't play it. He couldn't verify that it actually happened, but it's one of those, it sounds so Jerry Lee Lewis-like that you might just want to believe it because he was so starstruck with himself and wanted to always be the top guy.
There was I think he and Chuck Berry had a bit of a rivalry. I believe in the Taylor Hackford documentary Hail Hail Rock and Roll about Chuck Berry, they have Jerry Lee Lewis on camera saying he once got into a fight over who the true king of rock and roll was, and him and Chuck Berry, I think he got his ass whipped by.
Yeah. Okay. Let's find that. I find that fairly, you know, it sounds to me like there is no possible way that his life story doesn't get turned into, you know, it could be obviously a several part series on one of the streaming platforms, don't you think?
Well, they did a movie back in the 80s. Dennis Leary played him in Great Balls of Fire, but it didn't.
Right, I saw that, but
it didn't touch any of this.
Yeah. Oh, it's a different world.
And Dennis Leary, by the way, does a tremendous job in that movie. I think it's one of his better acting jobs. But yes, you're right. There could be a lengthening, a widening of the field for sure.
Right. All right. A couple more choices here. Pence blames Trump, sort of. Don Jr., Dick of the Year. Top 5 scary movies, official list. Don't argue with it.
Let's do Pence first.
Okay. Mike Pence has got his book out now, and it's called, you know what the title of it is? Did you hear this?
I really hate gay people.
Close. So help me God.
No, close. Yeah.
It'll officially be out on the 15th of November. That's the same day that the milk I bought at Walmart yesterday expires.
Interesting.
Pence recalled the meeting with Trump after the election, where there was the dispute between the campaign lawyers, Rudy Giuliani, and the great North Carolina Law School graduate, Sidney Powell.
Yeah.
Axios got a copy of the book, and they've got some excerpts. After the campaign lawyers gave a sober and somewhat pessimistic report on the state of election challenges, the outside cast of characters went on the attack. Giuliani told the president over the speakerphone, "Your lawyers aren't telling you the truth, Mr. President." Even in an office well acquainted with rough and tumble debates, writes Pence, it was a new low, and it went downhill from there. In the end, this is the money quote, the day the president made the fateful decision to put Giuliani and Sidney Powell in charge of the legal strategy, the seeds were being sown for a tragic day in January. I love the distancing of Pence and everyone from reality by using a day in January.
Yeah.
It's this need to somehow squelch its importance and where it has its place on the calendar forever. It wasn't just a tragic day in January. November 22nd wasn't just a tragic day in Dallas, nor was September 11, 2001, just a tragic day in Washington and Shanksville, Pennsylvania, and New York. But okay. Despite Trump calling for Pence to overturn the election results and in the aftermath of the rioters shouting, "Hang Mike Pence," the then vice president refused to cave and oversaw the Congressional Certification Electoral College, which Joe Biden won, blah, blah, blah. It reads that. You know, when I think about the 3 words, "hang Mike Pence," and then I think about the "where's Nancy" quote that the guy who went after Nancy Pelosi's husband, Paul Pelosi, used, it really starts to sink in that this wasn't just a day in January. It was a day that could be just the beginning, maybe the midpoint of what's ahead, with people taking seriously the concept of not necessarily hanging Mike Pence specifically, but hanging somebody else, going after other people. Where's Nancy? She was going to be figuratively hanged, being beaten by a hammer with this guy had she been in that place in San Francisco where they live. So this is kind of serious stuff, and I guess this is about as far as you can expect Mike Pence to go, but he's just distant enough and kind of cloudy and nebulous in his language that he's giving himself plausible deniability, because he will be asked now, "Are you blaming Donald Trump for what happened on January 6th? Oh, no. I'm just saying that meeting was problematic in that a table was set in a way that things could happen in the future." I mean, don't you think that's what he's going to do?
I just wonder, has anyone asked him straight up, do you think people were coming to kill you on January the 6th of 2021? As a report, I mean, maybe that'll happen in the publicity for this book. Do you believe that people were trying to come to kill you? Because the evidence clearly shows that that's what was happening.
Well, Britt, when they build a gallows essentially with your name on it, they're trying to kill you. So what's your answer to wiggle out that one?
I don't know.
I don't know.
And I'm sure his security detail, none of which would speak on the record, I think if you asked them, was it the belief of that security team that Mike Pence's life was in jeopardy? And I'm sure that's not even a controversial or unambiguous answer. I don't really think anybody would go, no, It was just like a fly buzzing around. We just had to swat it away.
You're bringing up things that go in 12 different directions, which leads me to why didn't they subpoena Mike Pence?
Yeah.
Why didn't they? I don't have the answer, because those are the kind of questions that you would have loved to have seen answered in public by him.
I mean, really if you can just excuse that, minimize it, or put it out of your mind, or disassociate yourself from it in a very mental way, and then go about your life. And let's just say Mike Pence does run for president, which he's not going to win, but in some fantasy world, let's say he wins. Does he think that they won't come after him and try to kill him again? Does he think that that's not going to happen? The same people who tried to do it before do not think it will not have something build up in their mind, a grievance against their hero, Donald Trump, and they'll come and try to murder him again?
That's a self-answering question, because the very fact that he, quote, would be a president, unquote, would be unfairly and outrageously in place of the rightful person who should be the president, according to Trump supporters, right? So he would be yet another interloper, another illegitimate president. Every president will be illegitimate, I think, from here going forward, by people who would say, well, Joe Biden was never a legitimate president, so whatever follows him, I mean, you can see where that goes. But you touched on something, 90 seconds ago, which is when you're directly asked, well, they were coming to try to kill you. You do realize that your life was in danger, that had they been able to find you, they would have dragged you out.
Yeah.
You would have gotten no better treatment than civilians in Ukraine get treated by Russian soldiers who come raping and pillaging through a city. That's what they wanted to do to you. And you do realize that there is a reason. And tell me what you think the reason is, Mr. Pence, that the Secret Service hustled you and your family downstairs and away, and wanted to get you as far away and secure as possible. I would like to hear that, because we have that other alternative universe. It's not an alternative universe, I think it's true, where Pence said, yeah, hide me, but I won't leave the building, because if I leave the building, you may drive me out into the woods and put a bullet in my head. Weren't you thinking that? Weren't you afraid that
ostensibly he would say that he didn't want to be driven from the building because they would somehow figure out a way to hoodoo the results, and he wanted to be there to make sure that the duty of democracy was done. Well, I don't understand how you kind of glide your way past in a very unctuous way the fact that they were clearly coming to kill you. And again, you don't know, and I don't know which way they would have done it. They had a number of ways. They could have bullet in your head. They could have actually put you out there on the gallows and tried to hang you. They could have drawn and quartered you. They had a number of ways they could have done it, and they had the manpower to do it. And I don't know how you, again, bear false witness and say, no, that's not what happened. That's not what happened on January 6, 2021, and I was never scared for my life. Well, okay, maybe you weren't scared for your life because you had about 20 trained individuals around you that were armed that could protect your life. Maybe that was something that, but
even that would be a flat out lie.
So I hope that in the lead up to his stupid book, which I hope nobody reads and is dumb as shit, I hope that somebody asks him that question just straight up.
Well, will he do interviews with the non-right-wing, non-Fox media? Will he go? And by the way, I would love to see him on C-SPAN, where you take the calls from the public. Oh my goodness, that would be great.
I think he'll do it for the purposes of making himself look sympathetic by having a Jake Tapper or Chris Wallace or somebody like that interview him, and then his fans.
You could be right, but I'd be amazed.
The conservatives always see that as, oh my God, poor little Mikey is getting beat up again. I got to go buy that book. Yeah, that's what they try to do with that shit.
He doesn't have that reservoir of sympathy that will allow for that. I don't think he does.
Poor little Mikey.
He's not a beloved figure. All right, Don Jr. Dick of the Year, top 5 scary movies.
Don Jr., Dick of the Year, if not the decade, if not the century.
Yeah. All right. So, and we need to go through this as quickly as possible. The guy who went after Nancy Pelosi's husband, and by the way, I'll start with one kind of discomforting bit of reportage that has been there since minute one, since it started to happen. He's been taken to the hospital, and he's expected to have a full recovery. Okay.
From a fractured skull, an 80-year-old man, man with a fractured skull.
So he got smashed with a hammer.
Yeah.
And they had to do brain surgery.
They did.
Okay. This is not going to fix a broken arm and it's going to heal in 2 months and you'll be pitching for the Angels, at spring training.
On an octogenarian. Yeah. Brain surgery on an octogenarian.
Right. And the reason, as it was explained to me, why he had to have that kind of surgery was very, very simple, because he was hit so hard that parts of his skull moved enough that his brain was jarred, and parts of his skull may have broken off into there, and they had to go in there and fix that. But they keep emphasizing that he's expected to have a full recovery. Really? Yeah. How quickly? Maybe 2-3 weeks from now? How does that work? You're 82. You don't heal the same at 82 as you do at 27. So I've heard. And if this happened to a 27-year-old, it would be a serious thing.
Very much so.
This is worse than a concussion that an NFL quarterback gets.
It is.
Okay. Because if Mr. Pelosi had just gotten a concussion, that would be bad. But, he'd recover probably fairly quickly, even at 82. But at 82, anything can happen. So I don't like that. They should be a little bit more realistic and circumspect. They're hoping for a full recovery. The recovery, to me, it rang more to the injuries inflicted on Salman Rushdie a couple months ago, when some crazy fuck ran up on stage, started stabbing him, and he's lost the use of his left arm and he's lost an eye.
Right.
But I guess you could say, but he's expected to have a full recovery. What does that mean?
What do you think the agenda is on that, though?
I don't know. I don't know. Yeah. I have no idea on that one. Why you would downplay the, or the Pelosi family won't feel so good. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. Okay, I don't like that. So it's clear this guy is just fucking drinking and eating conspiracy theories and every right-wing bullshit, crazy thing ever. So somehow, some way, because we live in the year 2022, that can't be taken at face value. That can't be what the San Francisco police said instantly. It can't be that the 911 operator, by the way, hat tip to the 911 operator there.
Yeah, they've named her name and everything. They never do that. It was really good.
I was surprised. I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, they never do that.
And by the way, hat tip to Pelosi himself, who, geez, my God, to have the presence of mind to make a phone call and leave the line open, and the 911 operator was able to decipher the code that he was speaking is pretty amazing, isn't it?
There's a lot of bullshit on social media about what you like. If you're in a domestic situation, you should call 911 and say you're ordering a pizza and you want pineapple and anchovies, and that means to every 911 operator that you're in a domestic situation. That's bullshit. That's not true. But she did a fantastic job, and I'm glad that she's getting some recognition from the authorities there in San Francisco.
Yeah. So because the first 24 hours, most of the decent, sympathetic responses came from the Democrats. There were a few Republicans who did so also, but it didn't take long for whatever Republicans were saying to have that drowned out by world-class whataboutism and both sidesism. And they would proceed to then name Steve Scalise and Brett Kavanaugh and a few other cases. And it lapsed into, I saw it on Fox, of course, where else, to it's the political atmosphere right now that has just contributed to this. The angry, ugly language that has contributed to what's happened here, in addition to the lawless cities of our country, all run by Democrats, and it did reach the point where, if you really wanted to sanitize it down, this was just a break-in. We don't even know if he knew him. This just could have been anybody.
Well, what you're saying, you're actually understating it. There's been a concerted effort among people like that asshole Dinesh D'Souza to lie about this over the past 72 to 96 hours. Also, the guy who runs Twitter now has also tweeted out some absolutely untrue things about this being some sort of sexual tryst that went wrong. And there are various bloodthirsty bastards who are right-wing lunatics who have picked up on this shit and run down the field with it.
That's Don Jr. for you. That's Don Jr.
He certainly is their leader.
Yeah.
And they have cast doubts. The Jussie Smollett thing, I think, as you point out, has been brought up many, many times, which I'm not even going to dignify that with pointing out the differences. It's just absolute 100% nonsense.
Britt, I decided this time to not post anything about this because when I first heard the story, the first thing I thought of was, oh, they're going to say it was a false flag attack and that Pelosi had it done to himself to garner. I haven't heard that version of it, but this is just as bad.
So the stair step of bullshit is that it's not what you think it was and they planned it. That's number one.
Yeah.
Number two was it's Joe Biden's fault because of lawless America and his minions all over America who have made our cities that much more dangerous. And number three was, as you pointed out, the general political climate. Can't we all just love each other and pat each other on the back and have a beer with your neighbor? That's what happened. Instead of a guy who was inspired by Donald Trump and his minions to go attack Nancy Pelosi, and when she was not home, the guy decided to attack her octogenarian husband and fracture his skull, which really is, I think that's Occam's razor. I believe that's very, boom, plain to the point, with the zip ties, with the where's Nancy, with the hit list that he had on him. That's what really happened.
Yeah, I saw last hour, this would be midday Monday, a live interview with the chief of police of San Francisco, and you could just imagine how disgusted he was at having to answer any questions that would lead you to believe that it was more than what we really, really know factually about what happened.
But we also have, again, this is illustrative and I think a teachable moment as well. The people on the right, the Republicans, the conservatives, they love the cops. The cops are great. We always back the blue. Not unless it's the San Francisco Police Department. Unless the police chief
probably was in.
They're probably in on it. And by the way, the police chief, he happens to be black. So you can't. We love the cops, except we don't love the cops. We try so hard to love the cops. We love the white cops when they do the right thing. I think that's really the Republican position is we love the white cops when they do the right thing. Of course, the right thing is support Republican lawbreaking and violence.
I certainly hope he really does come out of this, as well as possible. But 82, and you get bashed in the head with a hammer.
Tell me this is not. There's going to be more of this, and tell me you're not surprised that there hasn't been more of this from these idiots. Jesus Christ, they've got.
Well, Britt, every time this happens, it spawns copycats.
Of course it does.
It creates an example, and I think one thing that, again, you've been hearing at where was the security? Why was that? Why was he able to get in there?
That's the story.
As if that's the question.
That's
right?
the story, right?
Because if we could just surround everybody who is a government official, by the way, not just at the federal level, but every judge.
Sure.
How about local people?
I gotta tell you,
people where we live who are hated by other people.
Oh, there's no question. There's no question. Public figures. I mean, honestly, and you get down to it, it's like, hey, I think the Pelosi's were inviting somebody to attack them just to make us look bad. I mean, you get down into like ridiculous, like Nancy Pelosi and Paul Pelosi goes, here's what we're going to do. We're going to send all the security guards home. We're going to take the codes down off of the door. We're going to leave the gate open. You might have to take a hit to your skull from a hammer, but we're going to get so much sympathy and make the right look so bad. Are you in it? And he's like, yeah, I'll do that. That's not a problem.
That makes so much sense. I don't know how that couldn't be the way it
I mean, really, they're just, and some of these people are on a basic level intelligent. I mean, they would be able to go into a grocery store and master self-checkout without a lot of help. Some of these people, but they want to believe some bullshit like what I just laid out.
All right, here's the official scariest movie list ever. It's inarguable. It is a compilation of 10 websites, and you've heard of most of them: Esquire, The Wrap, Rolling Stone, Rotten Tomatoes, Harper's Bazaar. Okay, so this is what they find when they throw them all into a bucket. We'll go from 5 to 1. I haven't seen all of these. Maybe you have. 5th place, It Follows, 2014. Yeah. You know that one?
Yeah, it's a spinoff from Stephen King's It.
Okay.
Yeah.
Number 4, The Shining.
Stephen King all the way, yeah.
Yep. Number 3, Paranormal Activity from 2007.
That one I'm not familiar with.
Wasn't that one that was made with a handheld?
Maybe. I think that was Blair. Wasn't Blair Witch Project? Wasn't that? Maybe that's the one you're thinking?
Like it does say it here. It was made kind of the same way.
Okay, yeah. Gonzo style?
Yeah. Number 2, Halloween, 1978.
Yeah, the original.
The original one.
They've been trying to do as well for 44 years now.
Yeah.
And this new one, by the way, that's on Peacock is supposedly dreadful.
Dreadful as in scary, or dreadful as in bad?
Very bad. Very not good. Even people like it's so bad. People who enjoy the genre and people who have enjoyed the franchise are angry.
Is John Carpenter still alive? Is he still associated with this?
No, I don't think he is. I don't think he's had anything to do with it. He just collects the checks, or his estate does. Let me see here.
Check that out.
John Carpenter is still alive, still with us, and still rocking at the age of 74, Brad. He'll be 75 in January.
So now do we know if he had anything to do with this? That's the
I don't think he has. I don't think he's had direct involvement with this shit in a while. I think he even gave up on
it. Number 1, with a bullet and a crucifix, The Exorcist, 1973. 1973.
It was it did have a reputation because there were people that were literally having heart attacks in theaters, right? Or was that an urban legend?
I'm sure some people did. I do remember when and where I saw that one. That was pretty. It was pretty scary, pretty creepy. It certainly had a wonderful effect on Linda Blair's life, didn't it?
When she grew up, boy, when she matured, she was hubba. Fantastic.
That's not what I meant.
I think Jerry.
No, that is not what I meant. Jerry Lee Lewis Whitmire.
I think Jerry Lee Lewis liked her right there, though. I think that was the Exorcist. He didn't want her to age a single day.
I know he got excited because she could spin her head around 360
and puke. We've got a second here. Did you hear any of Barack Obama campaigning up in Wisconsin?
I saw some of the
I
clips.
thought he was
He's
on
got going on.
He was on. I mean, this is as good I thought as I've ever heard this guy, and he's good. But he was. I got 83 seconds, and again, tell me if this doesn't work audio wise, and we'll bail on it. This is him going after Ron Johnson. I mean, super hard up in Wisconsin. I think this was on Saturday. Check this out.
Some of you here are on Social Security. Some of your parents are on Social Security. Some of your grandparents are on Social Security. You know why they have Social Security? Because they worked for it. They worked hard jobs for it. They have chapped hands for it. They had long hours and sore backs and bad knees to get that Social Security. And if Ron Johnson does not understand that, if he understands giving tax breaks for private planes more than he understands making sure that seniors who've worked all their lives are able to retire with dignity and respect, he's not the person who's thinking about you and knows you and sees you, and he should not be your senator from Wisconsin.
How about that shit? How about that shit?
I don't recall him amping up his anger level.
Come on.
That much as president, do you?
No, it was rare. Come on. That's the shit. That's fired up and ready to go. God damn, we need that in North Carolina right now. We need him to come down there and throw some of this on Sherry Beasley, right?
Oh boy, don't get me started. I'll tell you. You want me to depress you or not?
Yeah, just give it to me straight, but I can take it.
I was outside. I was breaking all these damn leaves yesterday, and my neighbor Jerry has a place in Wilmington, right across from Wrightsville Beach.
Okay,
like a second home. They go there on the weekends. He comes back, and I'm talking to him yesterday. He says we were there over the weekend, and everywhere I went, there were only Ted Budd signs. There were no Sherry Beasley signs. And he said, well, so I went to the Democratic headquarters there in Wilmington. And I was actually able to finish his sentences before he could, because I knew what was coming. First of all, he says, everyone in there was over 80 years old, all the volunteers. Everyone was, it was quiet.
Oh, no.
There was not much going on. Can I have some signs? Can I have some signs?
Oh, no.
And they didn't know that he lived not there, but here, although I believe he then mentioned it. And they were willing to give him 5 signs. And I said, did you bring any back here? Because in my neighborhood, there's like no signs for anybody. It's and he said no, but his tone, and even the way I'm telling you this, is, wow, this is not how you win elections. This is not how you win elections. Zero ground game. That's anecdotal. That's one person's experience. It doesn't mean anything. But I hate going against this yard sign thing, because the yard sign thing tends to be a lot more illustrative of what happens in elections. When you see places inundated, it can mean something, because
we just had to get. We had a letter from the homeowners association. Don't put signs in common areas. You can put that shit in your yard, but don't you dare put that stuff in a common area. I don't care who you are.
Now, does that mean, like the street that comes down before you turn onto your street? Is that a common area where there's no
where there's a right of way over there, and they mow that thing about twice a year?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be, they want that. But then if you put the shit in your yard, you don't know who's going to come in there and fuck up your yard, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. Can I give you? I got one more piece of rhetoric for you from the weekend.
Okay.
And this will be 2 minutes and 15 seconds. It'll be completely and totally worth it. This gentleman's name is Jamal Harrison Bryant. He is a pastor at a huge church in suburban Atlanta. Got it?
Got it.
One of the most important ministers, spiritual leaders, who happens to be African American in the country. and he's going to lay down what's really happening with Herschel Walker. I want you to listen to this because this makes a lot of sense here.
Ladies and gentlemen, when the Republican Party of Georgia moved Herschel Walker from Texas to Georgia so that he could run for Senate, it's because change was taking too fast in the post-antebellum South. The state had been flipped blue, and there are some principalities that were not prepared for a black man and a Jewish man to go to Senate at the exact same time. So they figured that they would delude us by picking somebody who they thought would in fact represent us better with a football than with a degree in philosophy. They thought we were so slow, that we were so stupid, that we would elect the lowest caricature of a stereotypical broken black man as opposed to somebody who is educated and erudite and focused. Y'all ain't ready for me today. Since Herschel Walker was 16 years old, white men been telling him what to do. Telling him what school to go to, where to live, where to eat, where to buy a house, where to run, where to sit down, where to sleep, where to pay for abortions, where to buy a gun. And you think they not gonna tell him how to vote? In 2022, we don't need a walker, we need a runner. We need somebody who gonna run and tell the truth about January 6th. We need somebody who gonna run and push for the cancellation of student loan debts. We need somebody who gonna run and make the former president respond to a subpoena. We don't need a walker, we need somebody who will be steadfast, unmovable, always abounding, knowing that your labor is not in vain. Georgia, I need you to know the slave Negroes y'all are used to don't live here no more. We can think for ourselves, function for ourselves, and vote for ourselves. Why? Because we don't need a walker.
There it is. Come on.
Wow.
Come on, man.
I mean that's just great. That's just fantastic. I'm so afraid we're in a post-fact, post-truth, post-reality world where everything that guy said is true times 1,000. But
I'm leading up to something here. Jamal Harrison Bryant was the minister you just heard. BA from Morehouse College. Master of Divinity, Duke University, Brad.
oh, good for him.
Duke University, Master of Divinity. Went on to get even higher education from another place. So Duke University, despite the Kyrie Irving anti-Semitic bullshit, they do redeem themselves with this gentleman in the pulpit laying it down.
Yeah, this between that clip and the Obama clip, you want to think that the large turnout, early voting, is helpful to Democrats, but you don't know. You can't say that. You don't know. We'll see. We'll see. All right, that was a good ending. That was a good ending. What?
Go hand out your candy.
What's your favorite?
I gotta say it's kind of pedestrian, but Snickers. I think Snickers is, to me, like, it's everything a candy bar should be. In terms of texture, flavor, everything, I think Snickers is the bar.
Even though you do realize that Mark David Chapman ate Snickers before he shot John Lennon. You do know that.
I haven't heard that story. I didn't know that.
Okay, pretend you don't know it. We'll see you tomorrow.
See ya.